his shooting stroke is going to be the next exhibit at the Smithsonian. His play style, revolutionary, ahead of its time. I think he would tell you that the skill set is now in high demand in today's NBA. He is a treasured part of UCLA's basketball history. You see him right there. It is Jason Kapono joining us. Jason, thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me, Brian. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So it's been a little while as we go to a dual shot here. And look, you've got good genes when it comes to shooting the rock. You also have good genes when it comes to making twins. And your headband has been a trademark for so long. Why aren't you wearing one right now?
The reason why I don't wear one now is because I'm coming up to 40 years old, and my kids would make absolute fun of me to see their old dad, who has grays all over, sporting a headband. All
right, so you just told me this story about your kids attempting, and the key word is attempting here, cut your hair. Yeah. How did this ordeal shape out for you?
So COVID quarantine started in mid-March?
Sounds
March,
about right,
14,
yeah.
15? Yeah. So last Friday would have been, 6 weeks into this deal, 7 weeks
for
into
sure.
This deal. So we were outside swimming, and I was quite bored, and my hair was quite long and shaggy. So I figured I would give my kids a chance to do something that they've never done, and that would be to cut, my hair.
Sure.
So I brought out a few pair of scissors and some clippers, and I told them, "Hey, kids, just chop it off. Free reign, zero rules, just go." And all 4 kids froze. And I was like, "What are you guys scared of?" They're like, "Wait, Dad, you do understand if we do this, you won't have hair. You will be bald." And I said, "Yes, I totally get that." And the kids were like, "Do you want to be bald?" And I said, "Well, I do, and most likely my hair is going to grow back." So for 2 hours straight, it was, the worst haircut that I've ever gotten in my life. It was jab, squeeze, poke, shank for 2 hours straight. But they had the best time ever. And here I am now, a 2-clip buzz cut.
So they had pleasure from your misery, and hopefully they didn't have they cut a hole in your head. They didn't make you bleed or anything like that.
Couple scratches, a couple blood, stains, but
hey,
it's part of the fun, right?
And you're a tough guy. I mean, you played basketball, and I remember, you and Matt Barnes playing together at UCLA, and I remember there was some interview where you said that Matt Barnes gave you advice on being a dad, and now that you are the father of 2 sets of twins, what did Matt tell you?
Matt told me to get a babysitter as much as possible, to keep them in school as much as possible, and to maximize the time that you spend with them at 2 hours.
Really?
Totally kidding. Kidding. But quarantine, yes. The kids would probably say the same thing. Man, I miss school. I don't want my mom and dad to teach me. Homeschooling has put a huge strain on the family.
I can't even imagine with 4 kids.
Yeah, to parent and teach, it's extremely tough.
Did they say, "Mr. Capono, I have a question," when your kids are asking you when you're teaching them? Mr. Capono.
Typically, they just stand up and leave, and they go grab food or water or candy bars and stuff like that. So it's typically the dad teacher who's trying to yell at them to sit back in their seat. But then they're smart enough to tell me that they're at their house, and they're sitting on their couch. So it's hard to,
So what are you actually teaching them? What kind of content are we talking about here?
So right now the girls are in 2nd grade.
Okay.
So they have Zoom meetings with their teachers for 1 hour each day. And right now we are working on polygon shapes, which is extremely tough, right? Because I was like a decagon. I was like, man, thank God I got a cell phone now.
Yeah.
Google decagon. I was like, 10-sided object. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
The boys are in kindergarten, so they are practicing their sight words. They're just doing, simple math. So it's been fun.
You got that. Going back to, because your wife is the real MVP here. I mean, I know you are too, and your kids. But how did you meet your wife at UCLA?
I actually met my wife in a tutoring session.
Really?
After practice, like midweek, in 2000.
Okay.
We were both in the same class, History 8A with Professor Terrasiano. So yeah, I was just in that class and started to talk. And
what was the first thing you said to her to kind of get her attention? Did you say something clever or witty, or what was it?
Pretty much just, straightforward that I could help her study.
Okay.
It looks good on me. It doesn't look so good on her because, I mean, I'm not that smart. So for her to actually think that I was going to tutor her and help her, that's a bad call on her part, but it's a great call of mine. So then, it just led to tutoring. And then I think we had a midterm, coming up in the next, week or two, and the rest is history.
Hey, you sold it well. She bought into it, and now look at where you are now. And you've always said that. I remember, I think it was, I can't recall, but I was listening to one of your interviews of the past. You talked about how in life sometimes you like to take your time making decisions, whether that was signing with UCLA or where you're going to play. And I don't know how much your wife enjoys that part of things when it comes to making late decisions and dealing with that. But no, I got to imagine for her and the kids that it's got to feel really cool for you to have more dad time, because you spent so many years playing the game of basketball in the NBA, overseas at UCLA, and to finally spend this time with you or with your kids as a father. How have you changed your outlook on life now that you are home with the kids and being able to spend more time with them?
Probably I have learned to develop a good amount of patience.
Sure.
Typically, like playing sports, you try to learn things quickly. You want to win. You want to play. Like you're expecting, feedback to come back, quickly. Whereas to parent, sometimes it goes extremely slow. So, like you may have to say things one time, 5 times, 200 times, and it can get frustrating at times. But it actually teaches you to, have patience and to actually, put yourself in the shoes of a 6-year-old, or put your shoes in, or put yourself in the shoes of an 8-year-old girl. So, I've had plenty of time. I mean, I've been home ever since, my girls were born.
Sure.
So I've had a strong run here of 8 straight years of, being there through all phases of their life.
What do you miss about your time in the NBA?
I would say the competition, I would say, just going out there, playing in the games, experiencing, training camp and just, training for the season, setting goals as a team, and just having that challenge, it was pretty fun to, play 29 teams, like throughout a year. And, like as much as you can practice and try to predict what's going to happen, there was always something that came up, like during games that you would just have to, just like play at. And, it was an extreme challenge, but it was extremely fun.
You were drafted the same year as LeBron James was, and both on the same team. So you got a chance to play with him your rookie season. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was crazy. It was like playing with the Beatles,
Wow.
So everywhere we went, I mean, it didn't matter whether we landed at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever. There would be hordes of people outside of the hotel, waiting around the bus. I mean, he's the most hyped player probably in the history of the game. As an 18-year-old, fresh out of high school in his hometown. So it was a wild ride. Just everywhere we went, every stadium was sold out. People were packed outside the tunnel waiting for him pregame, postgame. I mean, at the plane, at the hotel, it was just wild.
Winning a title, and Jason Kapono is with us here on the podcast, winning a title with the Miami Heat. How funny is Shaq?
Shaq is quite funny. He's hysterical. Like, he's nonstop, too. he's probably 80% comedy and 20% real, serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. He keeps it light.
Do you recall a joke that he once told you that you might have used afterwards on somebody else or something like that?
Yeah,
Or
I
a
would say like
prank?
he's a joke teller. Yeah. He's just a prankster. You know, like he would love, you know, like the prank guys. And then
Did he ever prank you?
He didn't really prank like player wise, but
Yeah.
he would prank the staff. He would always come out of practice. I don't know whether it was like a Tuesday or, you know, like a certain, you know, like day of the week, but he would come straight out of the shower, you know, not clothed, full of soap.
Yeah.
And he would try to tackle the equipment guy. So picture Shaq, 7'1", full of soap suds, and you know, the equipment guy is like 5'8", 140 pounds. So he had a hard time getting away. So Shaq would start to dance. He'd be dancing with all the soap. And
Oh my gosh.
bear hug him. Yeah, it's quite the scene.
That's amazing. And then, of course, when you were, I love that story. You won a couple 3-point shooting contests, and I remember you were after you won one of them, you were asked something about Shaq, and you jokingly said that he helped me with my 3-point shooting and the free throw percentage. I think that was hilarious. And then going back to UCLA days. And you contemplated, coming out pro after your freshman year, and you kept coming back. Why did you feel when so many people nowadays, first shot of an opportunity to get that money, you said, you know what, hold on a minute. I know that will come, but I'll wait.
I just thought it's too much of a risk to be a late first-round pick. So at that time, like if you were a first-round pick, you were guaranteed 3 years salary with a fourth-year team option. I think now it's only 2 years guaranteed as a first round pick. So especially after my first year, like why sacrifice your college, experience and have a chance to get better and get drafted higher. So I just never wanted to risk that. And then by the time my sophomore year hit, I thought about it again, but I was kind of in the same boat. So then, I just didn't think it was worth it, to risk like my final 2 years. So I stayed and we tried to do our best. Obviously, we never got past the Sweet 16. Senior year in 2003 was quite rough, and I turned out to be a second round pick. So it was pretty much on par.
Jason Kapono joins us. If you could pick one game, Jason, from your UCLA career that was the only game that you could replay over and over and over again in your mind, what would that be?
There's a lot of them, but the first one that sticks out was my freshman year when Stanford was extremely good. They had a good run there, right, from like 97 or 8 all the way through like 2000, probably 3 or 4. Like they're always one of the top teams. But so freshman year was 99, 2000. Jerron Rush was a sophomore that year, but he was suspended, I think, for the first, 14 games or something. And his first game back was when we were on the road. We were doing the Northern California trips. We played Cal on Thursdays and then Stanford on Saturdays. So Stanford was ranked number 1 in the country. I think they just came off a win, like a non-conference win against Duke, I think during the Christmas time or sometime in January. And it was a CBS game, extremely hyped. And, we come into Stanford, play him tight. It's Jerron's first game back in 14 games, I think it was, or it could have been more. But he ended up getting an offensive rebound when we were down 1 and hit like a fadeaway jumper from the corner to win the game.
Jeez.
And it was crazy. And then that probably catapulted us to top 10 in the country. And then I think we kind of squandered it down the towards the end of the Pac-12 season, and I think we ended up getting maybe a 7 or 8 seed in the tournament. But Jerron
Rush, man, trying to get him on the podcast, that'd be a lot of fun. I really enjoyed watching both of you guys play together, and also, how about Earl Watson and getting to play with him?
Yeah, Earl. Oh man, he was the man. He was another kid that could have left early. He was extreme. He might have been the most competitive player.
Wow.
whether it be practice, summertime, pickup, game, Pac-12, non-conference, whatever. He just wanted to win no matter what. He would play D. He would he would do anything and everything to help the team win. Like, he never once talked about or try to get more shots or try to score more, whatever. He would do anything and everything. He was the most competitive player.
When you found out that Bryce Alford passed your all-time mark for made three-pointers, what was your initial reaction?
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Yeah. He's a good player. I actually had a chance to go up there and see them when I was living in the Bay Area when they were playing Cal. So I think that was Bryce's junior year. But Steve came in and brought a fun style of play, and it was cool to watch them play and kind of change from the Ben Howland kind of half court game where they win games maybe scoring 55 to 65 points. And then Steve came in and it was just front the ball, push it, shoot threes. And then obviously Bryce's senior year was when Lonzo came in and man, it was lights out. So
what do you think about what do you think about what Mick Cronin's done in his first year and trying to get back to those winning ways?
Oh, I mean, he's been great. It just happened with COVID that the season had to stop because the last 12 games here they've been on fire.
Yeah.
And then they probably would have got into the tournament, and then even if they would have been say a 9-10 seed, they probably would have beat a few teams. Oh, sure. Top 4 or 5 seeds. So it's extremely tough though for a coach to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. Now you got to establish your roots and obviously try to take players away who leave California to go, outside the state. So it's a challenge for him to keep players in state. But, I would say what he did the last 12 or 14 games, I think he will be able to keep a lot of homegrown talent in the state of California and playing for the Bruins.
I'm with you. And 2 quick questions here for you, Jason, because I know you got a bunch of kiddos there playing around in the backyard. What spawned your obsession with basketball?
I mean, honestly, it was the one thing that I could do. I grew up in a small house that had a driveway and a hoop. So it was either you were playing, any type of sport, out in the front yard. So hoops was, a simple thing to do. And then once I started to go to this Catholic school, one of the kids' his dad was the head coach at Long Beach City College. Mm-hmm. And then he was a year older than me, and he started playing on a traveling team. So he was in 5th grade. I was in 4th grade. And he asked me to play on it. And there it was. That was the beginning of a long career.
How badly would you want to play? You hear the term gym rat thrown out there, but what measures would you go to get in work to make you the player you were, to make you better than so many other people as a shooter? What kind of hours would you log to make all this happen?
I would play basketball, yeah. I mean, I'd come home from school, try to get, all of my, math homework done, science homework, whatever. I would try to get the hour to 2 hours worth done and then just stay outside and play just nonstop. And I would force my mom to come out to chase me to come in to eat and shower. And then as soon as I started getting better, then it made you want to work more, right? Because as you get better at things, then it's more fun because then you start to see that you get to win or you have more fun doing it. So I mean, I don't know if I spent 6 hours there or 5 hours a day, but wow. I always chose to go play hoops. I just, it was just fun, and I had a lot of friends that play basketball, so I was just always outside or in a gym somewhere.
It was your passion, and you certainly did amazing things with it. And I want to finish off by my neighbor, your brother-in-law, Darren, wanted me to bring up this story to you to get your thoughts on this. So it was about a week ago. We had your brother-in-law and wife and kids were over, and where I stay, my friend and Terry West, and he's as Darren wanted me to describe him, a portly, slightly oversized gentleman as Darren describes him. So he was eating some meat and he got it stuck in his throat. And your brother-in-law, the once UCLA football player, I was in the other room, but I could hear that like there's some panic, and your brother's lodged the piece of meat. He was choking, Terry was, and your brother came in, and you could argue might have saved his life. So why isn't that a surprise when you think of a guy like Darren? And I'm sure Terry learned a lesson or two from maybe not sticking meat that was like a pound worth down at once.
Well, yeah, Darren saving a life is questionable, but Darren went to college for 12 years. So, yeah, just to let y'all know. So Darren started college in 1995.
Okay.
And he graduated in 2010. So it took him 15 years. So something tells me that like he had to take a lot of first aid classes and stuff.
Yeah.
Throughout like his 15-year run.
Gosh.
Second of all, you were supposed to, like dislodge it by, having to come out of your throat, right?
That's true.
To make sure that you can see the, food or whatever is out, right?
Yeah.
But Darren, instead of going here and pushing up, he went straight to the sternum and then pushed it down. So Terry swallowed it.
Yeah.
So that is not the right thing.
Yeah.
But do.
Yeah.
So Darren is claiming to be a hero when like he truly messed up and he truly got lucky.
He did. And
but thank goodness Terry is fine.
Thank goodness Terry is okay. And Darren will always have that to Terry and say, hey, I saved your life, so respect me now. So bow down to me.
Darren will totally use that. He will hold that over Terry's head for centuries.
Yes, absolutely.
Terry's gonna owe him every barbecue, every steak, every cocktail, Terry, you do remember, right?
Yes.
You could have died in 2020, dude.
Yeah.
Guess who saved you?
Yeah. Yeah. If Darren ever needs a chore and Terry's like, no, I'm not gonna. Oh, can you help pick up or drop us off at the airport? Terry, you remember that time? Exactly. He's gonna hold that to him.
2020, you were like this. You were about to die. And then I came in. Yeah.
Yes.
Darren is totally gonna use that.
He is gonna use it, and I'm so glad to get to know Darren, get the opportunity to talk with you, Jason, and I'm glad to hear that your family is doing good and you guys are hanging in there. And then once all this clears, next time you guys come out to LA, would love to meet you all and be really a fun time. Cool.
I'll definitely do that. Thanks,
awesome.
Bryan. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you, Jason, for the time. And it looks like a great day where you are. So soak up the sun, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Have a good one, man. Take care.